Tonight, in a 41 Action News exclusive, disturbing new evidence in the VA sex scandal. In these documents just obtained by 41 Action News, we revealed the state knew the ex-employee accused of sexually abusing veterans had a criminal record before he was hired. 41 Action News reporter Lexi Sutter got some answers from the state today. Lexi?
Yeah, that's right. In this letter I obtained from a confidential source, it proves Mark Wisner came to the state of Kansas and the VA with a record. And tonight I questioned a local congresswoman about her plans to get answers. This letter, dated February of 1992, is former Leavenworth VA employee Mark Wisner's first application to practice as a physician assistant in Kansas. Proof the Kansas Board of Healing Arts okayed him, even though he checked yes that he has a criminal record.
I'm just disturbed.
Congresswoman Lynn Jenkins was not aware of this document until I showed her on Friday.
How could that even be missed?
But she's demanded answers from the VA since she first learned about Wisner's charges. She wrote a letter to VA leaders in April and again this week, still not receiving much of a response.
We've been very disappointed with the leadership that we've had at the federal level. We've asked for one secretary's head on a platter, got it, and the leadership hasn't changed enough for my liking.
The Kansas State Board of Healing Arts won't release details about Wisner's record due to confidentiality. But according to these court documents 41 Action News obtained last month, Wisner admitted to an arrest in California in 1987. He exposed himself at a bookstore and said he anticipated receiving oral sex from possibly a young man.
Concerned the state didn't catch it, even more concerned that the second level of review at the VA when they were hiring him would not have been concerned about that, didn't raise that issue.
Wisner faces felony and misdemeanor charges in Leavenworth County, a growing number of federal lawsuits, and dozens of veterans, his former patients, accusing him of sexual abuse. Right now, he's awaiting trial in jail.
Our intent is to get to the bottom of it, to find out what went wrong in the oversight and the original hiring now, and when the first abuse was reported.
The Kansas Board of Healing Arts does a thorough investigation when an applicant reports a record, but it wasn't until the year 2000 that protocols really changed. When Wisner applied, there were fewer and less stringent rules. Lexi Sutter, 41 Action News.
He is accused of sexually abusing veterans at the VA, and tonight in a 41 Action News exclusive, we dig deeper and uncover the former physician's assistant may be living off your dime.
That's wrong on so many different levels that it's unreal, unbelievable.
And we've also learned the VA wasn't completely truthful about Mark Wisner's status.
41 Action News reporter Lexi Sutter first broke this story more than a year ago, and she uncovered these new details today. Lexi.
Yeah, Rhiannon, for the last year, we've heard from the Leavenworth VA that Mark Wisner resigned while under investigation. But documentation that I obtained today showed that's not the case. He, in fact, voluntarily retired with benefits.
You know,
this 25-year-old Purple Heart recipient is outraged.
That's what's so infuriating about all this. It's like, dude, to come back, to make it through all that, just to come back and have to deal with this.
He's one of dozens of veterans who say they were sexually abused by former physician assistant Mark Wisner, and they're now learning the man was allowed to voluntarily retire while under investigation.
I'm angry right now. I'm very angry because if it would have been any one of us through the VA or military, you know, now you get booted out for just simple things, you know, and we don't get a retirement. And here he is going to be collecting thousands of dollars, whether it be taxpayers' dollars, our dollars. But he's getting all this money for sitting in jail, and the rest of us are suffering because of what he's done, you know.
Last month, Congressman Jerry Moran questioned VA Secretary Robert McDonald on the handling of Wisner's case. Secretary McDonald maintained Wisner resigned.
Are you telling me that he beat you to the punch?
If somebody resigns, they're no longer an employee. That's true in the private sector or the public sector.
But that was not the case. An internal email from the VA shows Wisner filed for retirement while under investigation for inappropriately touching a patient, which he admitted. Still, the VA approved his request, and he was granted retirement on June 30th of 2014, which means taxpayers are funding his paychecks and pension.
I can't just drive up to Washington and, you know, start clunking heads together, because I know that's what everybody wants to do. Wake up. Somebody please wake up.
Pains me to see that he's getting away with a lot of stuff and it's getting buried underneath the rug.
Now, previously, spokespeople here at the Leavenworth VA simply said he left. Now, today, when I reached out to them and told them I received conflicting information, they did confirm to me that he did voluntarily retire. We're expecting to see Mark Weisner, by the way, in a Leavenworth County courtroom next week. Reporting live tonight in Leavenworth, Lexi Sutter, 41 Action News.
Yeah, this story far from over. Good work, Lexi. And after we broke this story, Kansas Senator Jerry Moran did propose a bill that would prevent suspects like Weisner from receiving benefits. Moran said, quote, the notion that taxpayers would fund the benefits of individuals who have threatened or harmed our nation's heroes is unacceptable.
41 Action News reporter Lexi Sutter broke this story first last summer, and tonight she found out how this pair is hoping that their lawsuit will help their fellow soldiers. Lexi.
Yeah, Rhiannon, we're talking about two brothers, two Army veterans, and two separate lawsuits in which both men say Mark Weisner at the Leavenworth VA sexually abused them.
Until recently, the Hutchinson brothers both suffered in silence.
I believe actually my brother had contacted me and very plainly said, did you see Mr. Weisner? I paused and I said, yes, I did. And I was in fear to hear the next statement. And that fear was true, to hear that my brother had been a victim to that as well.
John and Josh Hutchinson filed separate federal lawsuits against the VA and former physician assistant Mark Weisner, accusing Weisner of inappropriately touching them, giving unnecessary exams for his own pleasure, and overprescribing medications. Abuse Weisner doesn't deny.
At one point in time, I was on 13 different medications.
The feelings, the awkwardness, the things that went on, just you knew just weren't right.
The trust factor. I know listed in the case, he said, I'm your battle buddy, you can trust me. You took that seriously.
Absolutely. You know, he led us to believe that that was exactly what he wanted to do, was build the trust up so he can care for us better. And we've realized we were manipulated very badly.
But they had no choice but to go back, not only for medicine and treatment for their combat injuries, but to keep their benefits.
The fear of losing what I earned versus the fear of being sexually assaulted again, I don't know which one was more important.
The abuse is taking a toll on their lives and their families. John's wife, Sarah, also listed in this lawsuit for how the abuse has impacted their marriage.
Is this the first step in healing from a second battle you're fighting now that you're home?
Yeah.
Is that what it feels like?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been no end, and it's hard to see an end in sight right now. So, if anything, maybe this is my opportunity to relieve some of that guilt and get over it by helping other soldiers from here on. Because if we don't let this be known and I keep this inside, then I'm not doing right by them, and I'm not going after the justice that they seek too.
We are expecting another lawsuit to be filed very soon. As many as 90 veterans have filed similar complaints against Mark Weisner. There's now 8 federal lawsuits and 2 criminal cases in Leavenworth County, those set for trial this fall. Lexi Sutter, 41 Action News.
Today, Kansas Senator Jerry Moran went straight to the top. He asked the man in charge why they hired Mark Weisner and why they never fired him. Only on 41 Action News, Lexi Sutter showed that exchange to one of the victims.
Today, Senator Jerry Moran pressed VA Secretary Robert McDonald for answers. Now, on 2 occasions, citing our previous 41 Action News reports. The answers that the secretary gave, though, not good enough for one veteran who tells me he was sexually abused here at the Leavenworth VA hospital. This veteran watched.
Why is he the #1 guy for the VA not having the same information that our senator has?
As the head of the VA responded to Senator Jerry Moran on sexual abuse allegations piling up against the Leavenworth VA.
Why I didn't see the data you may have, or where you got your data, there was nothing in his file that suggested that this was a risk.
The sticking point, how was Mark Weisner hired in the first place? A 41 Action News investigation uncovered he came to the Leavenworth VA with a previous conviction of sexual nature.
Very upsetting. I don't know. I don't think they did a very good background check on him. I mean, I think the process needs to change on backgrounds for these doctors.
This victim feels his pain and suffering could have been avoided.
Why was he hired to give us treatment, and the way he did things, you know? It's hard, you know, to see it.
Seeing this gives him some relief, but what he experienced still haunts him.
I mean, I don't sleep much because of it. I had the same repeated dream. It's like I'm in this big VA and I'm trying to get to an exit and I'm not getting out of there, and he's chasing me, but he keeps getting closer, but I'm not getting anywhere.
Another federal lawsuit was filed against Mark Weisner today. That makes it number 12. Meantime, Weisner will be in a Leavenworth County courtroom on Friday for his criminal charges. Reporting in Leavenworth tonight, Lexi Sutter, 41 Action News.
And the VA never fired Weisner. He resigned after he surrendered his medical license.